These are all three here. AR-15, 223, 556, 300 Blackout, 350 Legend bolt carrier groups. Which, when you look at this, you think this might be your whole bolt. But actually, the bolt part is just out here on the head. All your bolt groups have, I think it's 5 parts. But you'll see here, this is an AR-15 bolt. This is an M16 bolt. This is an AR-15 bolt made by Colt, nicknamed the government bolt. And I'll explain that in a minute. The main difference between your AR-15 and your M16 bolt group, the bolt and the bolt head, is the length right here of your back strap. They call this the back strap. You see that's got a little slide in it. That's to let your keeper for your buffer tube slide in that. But on an M16 that had full auto capability, you needed all this back strap to let your hammer slide against it till it reached the end, and then it could go off, just like my pencil did. So when they come out with the M16, they said if we cut this back strap shorter, that this bolt could never be used in an M16 full auto rifle. So all of your early M16 or AR-15s had this cut back strap. Now sometimes you'll see it's a little wider. I couldn't find one. I've had them wider. I don't know why I don't have one. But they're not always cut. This is an early model. That's why it's so narrow here, this space here. Usually that's a little wider. But the reason for that is so this bolt group body could never be used in a full automatic weapon. When you started to slide forward, your hammer would fall down in there too soon, jam the gun. But over the years, they must have realized that it takes, well, you can't just drop this M16 bolt down into a full automatic weapon or a semi-automatic weapon and it'll shoot, because full auto it won't. If you put this, and matter of fact, a lot of yins out there that have AR-15s, you pull it apart, you'll have this M16 bolt carrier group in it. This is an Anderson chrome lined logo Anderson bolt here, but that's an M16 bolt group, and they called it that. But builders just know that that's what you go with. And the main reason is because of the weight. You lose a lot of weight when you cut that off. Changes your action in your gun. So actually the M16 style bolt group is what you want. And it's not illegal to have that in your gun, because that can no way possibly make your gun shoot full auto. You have to have a ton load of components in your gun that you can't get. Now this one, what they did here when Colt government bolt, they cut it completely away. So there was no chance in hell you could ever make this work in a M16 rifle. And if you notice here, the firing pin's exposed farther, which actually that's bad. That lets your hammer drag on that and wears your firing pin. If you see none of these are exposed, that firing pin, you're just seeing it there because it was stuck out a little bit. See, so these are, if you have a bolt like this, what you got is a Colt version of the AR-15 bolt, and that's why it'll look like this. Now you probably won't run into any of these bolts. I found this one years ago it was in a 300 Blackout when they first come out, figuring the lighter bolt was going to make it run better. I don't know if it did or not. I changed it to one of these and it ran just as good. But that's why I kept this, because you won't see a lot of them. And like I say, they call them the government bolt, which are mocking it because the government was trying to make sure you could never make a full automatic weapon, which was stupid. You needed so many, much more things to do it. And like I say, if you tear your gun apart, if you have an AR-15, you tear it apart, you're hoping for this group. Okay, like I say, as we move on a little bit, we flip these over. Next thing you want to make sure is the staking right here. Where these are like an Allen head, 2 Allen head screws that they put down in there. This is your gas block. They put that down in there, torque it down, and then they spike them. You'll hear of a spiked bolt, they'll call it spiked. Well, that means that they took a tool and punched down over the end of that bolt so it can never come loose. So if you hear the term spiked, that's what it is. Then you move on. Now any of these three will work in an AR-15. Any of the three. You move on to the front. You look down in the front of these. Let me show you. This is another Anderson bolt here. Chrome line. See how you see that chrome line around that? Where the bolt's going in? That's the biggest thing you want. Oh yeah, you check your steel numbers. You have some models with different steels. And there's so many bolts, I don't know how you tell you the truth, you make the choice. But you want that chrome line around there that stops that from jamming up when the gun goes off. That's got to squeeze in like that. So you want that chrome line so that'll move. What'll happen, that'll carbon up. You'll shoot your gun, put it away. It'll carbon up there, next time you shoot it'll jam on you. That's why you want the chrome lining. A lot of people could go to their gun right now, take the bolt out, and they won't have that chrome lining. And you move on out here. This is actually like the piston of your gun. That's why the weight of it makes a difference. They don't call it a piston, but it's kind of like a piston. Gas comes through the end of this tube right here and pushes that back into your buffer and spring. And while it's going back, it recocks the gun. And this head rotates as it goes in. And your extractor right here is holding your bullet, pulls it out when it's fired. And then this spring-loaded plunger right here throws your brass out at 3 o'clock every time you shoot. So you want to worry about mainly your spiking down here. You want to make sure, and they all are. I've never run across a loose one yet. But the spiking is what you want to watch. And if all possible, you want to get chrome lined. Now, I had bolts that weren't chrome lined and they worked. But I don't know how many rounds went through them after that, you know. I didn't think I had any more of these. If you get one of these with it cut back that short, you're in old stock or something. I bought some 5 bolts at one time, and they said they were old stock, and they come with that short back strap. So I actually kept one just on account of that, because these are every day. Like I say, you buy Anderson, this is what you get. 90% of your ARs have this, and that's what you want. You want that weight to make everything. The gun is designed to run best with the bolt weighing the amount with that space on there. So when you take it off, you're making your bolt lighter. I think you're slowing down your action is what you're doing. I'm not 100% correct. Okay, so any 3 of those bolt bodies will work. Make sure you're spiked up here on your gas. Try to go with chrome lining around here. Now when you get out here onto the head, you'll find all these abbreviation, MPS and SC something or whatever, codes that they have for testing these. Now, they're not all tested. Some are tested every one. Some are tested in a batch, like every 100th when they test. If you see it say MPI, that means it's been tested for pressure. It's been shot under heavier pressure to make sure it would hold up. Then your other letters, there's 4 of them. I should have wrote them down, MS something. What they do is they take that bolt and they sandblast it with some kind of metallic steel particles under high pressure, and it beats on it and makes it stronger. So it strengthens the steel. So if you see them 4 letters on there, you know your bolt's been shot peened. If you see the MPI, you know it's been pressure tested. Now, I used to always think that was a good thing. Now you watch videos and people say because they were pressure tested once, could make them weak and they might break off on you. I don't know. Every one of these are all tested both ways. I always go with that. That's why I quit going with Bear Creek Arsenal, because their bolts right here. They went from chrome line being standard to where you had to buy it extra. So you were getting uppers off of them that worked good, and then all of a sudden they started having trouble when you look and the chrome lining's gone. Now your extractor, they will break off. A lot of people carry an extractor with them in their pistol grip of their gun. And the reason for that is because as that cartridge comes up out of your mag, this extractor right here is kind of like forced over the lip of the rim of the brass to hold on to it. And then it goes in, gets shot, it comes back out, and as soon as the bullet clears the feed ramp, this ejector right here, this spring-loaded plunger, throws it out of the gun and rips it off of this lip. So eventually that lip's got to fail. It's being pushed on, it's being pulled on by the rim. Eventually that's going to fail. So I've never had one break, but they say they do. Now, when I build a gun, and I can't read off the specs of the steel, I think it's like, I wrote it down over here somewhere. $158, and the other one is something 1093. I think that's what these Andersons are. But the main thing, like I say, you go with the chrome lining, and on the head, hey, if it's had all that testing and it breaks, you buy a new one. If it don't have all that testing and it breaks, you buy a new one. So either side of that coin, your gun's going to work as long. The main thing is you got your chrome lining here. What you got now, what you got to watch out, a lot of times you'll get one maker make the bolt and another maker make the barrel, and the two don't mesh together right, and you'll have a hell of a time getting your gun to run right. I've had that problem several times. That's what happens when you go with like mil-spec bolts and commercial barrels. But only a couple times. So you decide what head you want to go with, either with all the testing or without. And they both cost about the same. Your bolt body, make sure you get a good steel. Make sure your gas block's been spiked. Get your chrome lining around here. Go with the M16 style group so you got the weight to make everything run correctly. Slap her all together. And what I usually do, when I'm done shooting, if I don't have time to clean them, I'll take WD-40, I'll spray in these holes. Spray in here till it comes out up here, actually flush it out. A lot of people say don't do that. I do it. I've found no trouble with that. I try not to put a lot of oil in them holes because you put oil around your rings and then it catches carbon. And some people say use brake cleaner, but you got to watch that, because if you get it on your furniture or the gun, this black stock or whatever, that brake cleaner will turn it white. I had it happen to me. You don't want to get that brake cleaner nowhere near black plastic or any kind of plastic gun stocks or anything. Alright, I'm going to look back through this, and that's the only tool you need right there to take this all completely apart. You pull this one. I can't do it with one hand or I would. You pull this cotter pin out, stand your bolt up, firing pin falls out. Push your piston in. Pull that pin. Now you rotate. Once your firing pin's out, that'll rotate. Rotate that out, pull it out, pull your head off the front of your part. You know, hardest part's putting it back together is getting this to go back in. You'll find that cotter key can be a pain in the ass to get back in. And if you want to test your bolt to see if your rings are wore out or not, yes, you just take your bolt. Your bolt will stand up like that on the head and not go shut. Your rings are still firm. If you stand it on the face like that and it closes like that, well then your rings are wore. Like I said, you set it up and it goes by itself and goes down like that, then your rings are wore out. You need new rings. I'll make another video. I'll pull one of these bolts apart and show you how the rings work in that on another one. But like I say, if you wanted to identify your bolt and what you got, or if you want to buy a new one, make sure you get a chrome line. Make sure she's spiked good here. I got my bolts all mixed up, don't I? Remember which gun they come out. Make sure you go with the chrome lining. It's up to you. If you think pressure testing could have took strength away from it, buy it without it being tested. And they're out there everywhere. There's so many different makers of this. If you go online, it's that the normal person has a hard time figuring out what's what. But this video is getting long. I knew it'd take a long time to explain bolts. But like I say, you want the chrome line. Make your choice whether you want the head pressure tested or not. Firing pin, yeah, you can get all different, you know, hard firing pins, different stainless steel, whatever. They do break. Now they say they do break, and my brother-in-law's gun broke. I had to change it. So they do break. So if you want to keep an extra one, that's a good idea. I have a couple myself. I always keep an extra. I don't shoot at my guns anymore anyway. I'm getting too old, but other than that, they do make a piece. You take the quarter key out, and they make a little pin, looks like a cut-off roofing nail, that you put in and out to take your bolt apart quicker and don't have to mess with getting this damn pin back in, because it can get you mad, drive you crazy trying to get it back together sometimes. Especially if I have people who are shooting their gun and they have trouble and they ask me to help them. I take their bolt apart. I can't get that pin back in. They're standing there waiting for their bolt back, you know. I think I covered everything here, so I wanted to hope that helped some people. This ended up a long video. Made a big mess, got my bolts everywhere. AR16, AR15. And like I say, on your AR15, sometimes this will be wider. You'll get this. So no matter what width this is, or even like it's like this one. For me, I prefer the M16 bolt carrier group. If you're having trouble with running, like now I'm building this 350 Legend. I got a carbine gas system and I'm going to use a rifle buffer system. I might want this lighter bolt to make the gun run right because I got the wrong gas system compared to the stock. That's what made me get all these out and thinking. I've got 3 different choices here. If my gun don't run right, I got 3 different weight bolts. I forgot to bring my scale, but I got 3 different weight bolts to choose to try to get me to function better. Holy hell, we're hitting 20 minutes here. I'm going to shut up and let you go. I hope that helped some first beginners there. How to pick your bolt and what you need, and all my rambling. Everybody have a good one. Check out some other videos and catch you on the next one.